Hello, everybody. This is Noah and John, and we are with UrbanDigs. And Johnny, today we are talking Manhattan, and we got a real good one today. We got Greg Mire over at Compass, 2 decades in this industry, over $1 billion sold, number 7 medium-sized team in New York City, number 15 in New York State, number 105 in the USA, ranked by Real Trends. This guy just does business, tells it like it is, and we got him to ourselves for 15 minutes, Johnny, and we're going to get right into it. Greg, first off, thank you for being here. And everyone wants to know what is going on in the state of the New York City real estate market today.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I can't even tell you how amped up I am to be here. You guys are heroes to our industry. So thank you very much for everything that you guys do. I work in Manhattan and Brooklyn pretty equally. So I find that we're dealing with two very different markets. I find in Brooklyn, in the areas that we work in, which is like Brooklyn Heights, Cobble Hill, Carroll Gardens, Prospect Heights, Park Slope, like the usual suspect neighborhoods, it's still pretty competitive. There is a lack of inventory. There is a big need for these properties. And inevitably, what will happen is there will be multiple offers and it will go to highest and best. And very often it will trade above the asking price. It's not the case necessarily for all properties. Like these luxury condos and fringier locations are having a very different experience. But, for the most part, Brooklyn is still chugging along. Our experience in Manhattan is a little bit different. We're finding that our properties are staying on the market longer. And of course, that's because there's just simply more inventory in Manhattan. There are exceptions for really well-priced properties in unbelievable locations, or just properties that are just scarce in general. Those can still be very competitive. But, I would basically say this. It seems like in both boroughs, it's still a relatively neutral market, but I think in Brooklyn, it's leaning a bit more towards sellers. And I think in Manhattan, it's leaning a bit more towards buyers. We are approaching that amazing sweet spot of the fall market right now. We're basically in it, where transactions really start happening a little bit more, where the sellers have been exposed to reality and they're petrified of going into the holiday season without a contract in place. And so I find right now you're going to find sellers that are more negotiable than they have been for the entire fall market. And you will also see that they'd rather do deals than drop the price or go into the holidays with nothing.
That's a great breakdown. And I have to say, I know the show is called Talking Manhattan, but we do like to talk Brooklyn. So I think talking Manhattan and Brooklyn would be too much of a mouthful. So we'll keep it a talking Manhattan, but we do like to talk Brooklyn. And Greg, I like what you mentioned there, because you're talking about two boroughs. You're talking about essentially two separate markets, but they're both made up by buyers and sellers. And I'm wondering, if you're looking at Brooklyn and you're thinking it's a little bit more on the seller side, look at Manhattan a little bit more on the buyer side. I'm wondering if you can dive into a little bit more into the mindset of the actors in these markets these days, the buyers and the sellers. How are their mindsets the same? What's different these days?
I think in Brooklyn, I think it's hard to be a buyer right now. I mean, we just had a property that we listed in Cobble Hill with 9 offers, and we had some buyers go. I think in one case they went 17% above ask and still did not get the property. And they're tired of losing.
Wow.
It's a really difficult situation, and so they're still out there. They're still trying, but it's a challenge. And I think once buyers are seasoned, they know what it is that they have to do to win. And they're very keenly aware of that, and they're in most cases working with top-notch professionals, and those professionals are helping them get there. But it's tough, right? As a seller in Brooklyn, I think it's a lot easier. If you've got a great property, it's a lot easier. In Manhattan, I think the opposite is the case. I think being a buyer is a lot more fun. You have more options, and you have a little bit of power. I think sometimes the buyers think they have too much power, particularly in an environment where I think sellers are still coming to terms with the fact that they might be losing money. I think being a seller in Manhattan it's actually a lot easier for us to work with sellers in Manhattan these days than it has been for a while, because they read the news and they kind of understand how things are at the moment.
And I just want to follow up quickly. because I think you brought up something very interesting, which is that supply shortage in Brooklyn is making it very difficult for buyers in some cases, in which case, in many cases, like you mentioned, they're having to pay not only over ask, but a lot over ask to sort of just get that property. On the sell side, as an agent, it's understandable. You can manage it. If you've got that inventory, if you got that exclusive, that's a good thing. If you're representing buyers in Brooklyn, I mean, what does that mindset look like from an agent's point of view who's got someone looking to buy in Brooklyn? How difficult is it?
It's difficult. Like I said, you have to season these buyers. It doesn't necessarily happen instantaneously. I think buyers have to go through a couple of losses until they're ready to step up to the plate the way they need to in order to win. It's also not every single listing, by the way, that's going that substantially above the asking price. I don't want you to think that that's necessarily the case. But like it depends. And I think the data is really important. And that's why we love you guys so much. But I think the data is really important to help guide these buyers to the right place. But the problem is that sometimes the data, like these results defy the data. It's like, so it really just depends on how scarce the property and what it is.
Right. And the reason I bring it up is because a long time ago, when Noah and I were representing the buy side, we would have buyers who were like, I want to buy in Cobble Hill. I want to buy in, Brooklyn Heights. And there was nothing there. And the ones we'd put forward, we would work on it. We say, listen, it's asking X. You're probably going to need to be at X plus 5% if you want to be competitive. Oh, no. I think I want to be at X minus 5 or 10% because I want to negotiate. And there's only so many times as a broker that your buyer can lose a property before they're like, I don't think it's me. I think it's you. I think there's something wrong with you. So that's from an agent point of view. It was just a very difficult market, that lack of inventory on the buy side, just to sort of, to your point, season your buyers. That's a difficult task.
Yeah. And, you have to tell your buyers, look, I mean, there has to be a winner, right? And that winner is going to be the one who pays the most money. It's plain and simple, right? And like, sometimes you might be establishing a new comp level, but how badly do you want the property? How upset are you going to be if somebody else gets it for a hair more? And when we're advising our buyers on the highest and best, we always say, we want you to be equally as happy if you win, right? Like, we don't want you to be upset if you lose. I'm sorry. Let me say that again. We want you to be happy that you win, right? Like, we don't want you to be upset about it and then all of a sudden have buyer's remorse and back out.
I completely understand what you're saying, but what you're basically saying is bid at a level where if you do not get it, you're okay walking away from this, right? I'll be happy if I get it, but if I don't, I put my best foot forward. And John, we just did an advisory report on a bidding war in Brooklyn, and they won it, and they had to go about 11% over ask, which was, in our report, I think it came out to just a low level of stretch above where it was. So it was interesting to see how that played out, because it's happening in more and more areas in Brooklyn, even though it's not a broad thing, like you said, Greg. There are spots in Brooklyn and locales and products that create urgency. They're priced right. There's no inventory. They create urgency, and then you get the gap up bids. And agents out there, sellers out there, everybody wants gap up bids, right? That is a situation where you just forget negotiations and you just jump up 10% in your bid, and you got 6 people fighting over it. And those are great situations for sellers. But I want to pivot to sellers. Okay, let's leave the buyers away. Let's go over there to sellers. I want to talk about pricing. I want to talk about presentation. I know you have thoughts on both. I see a difficult listing climate in Manhattan, as you say, for Brooklyn. So what are you doing with these sellers in Manhattan dealing with a tough listing climate when it comes to price and when it comes to presentation?
Well, I think pricing and presentation have never been more important than they are right now. I think buyers out there are extremely well educated due to the fact that there is so much data available to them, and they are the first ones to call bullshit on aspirational pricing, right? Like, they're not willing to deal with it. Like, they won't even bid very often because they're just like, this seller is not realistic, and I'll just move on to the next. So that's pricing. Presentation for me, I mean, my team is so unbelievably passionate about market preparation and presentation, and very often we'll lose listings because of it, because there's some other agent that's telling them, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. But for us, we understand how important it is for a buyer to walk through the door and have the ability to fantasize about what their life would be like in that home without having to do too much work, like mental gymnastics, or God forbid we ask a buyer to use their imagination, because buyers want to be paid for their work, and they want to be paid in the form of a reduced price, or like they won't even offer at all, you know? We have seen this pay off so substantially for sellers. I mean, we have real hard data on examples, when we have gone the extra mile and maybe the listing directly below us has not done the same thing. Or, when we take over a listing from somebody else that wasn't able to sell it, and we go through our market preparation plans, which include like light contracting work and staging and window washing and like the whole 9 yards. And all of a sudden, we're talking about differences in pricing of like 20%, or selling something that's been on the market for 6 months within a matter of 2 weeks with multiple offers at an above ask level. So this stuff is real. And I think the hard part is convincing the sellers to invest in this market preparation stuff.
Greg, could you give me a general idea of this staging and setting the vision, providing the story so that when somebody comes in, they don't have to do those mental gymnastics yourself? Because you're right, they don't. They if there's nothing there and it's empty shell, all that's going to go in their head is, oh my God, that's money, that's money, that's money, that's money. That's what goes on in the head, and they're like, forget it. But how much is it going to cost? Like if it's 2-bedroom, 2-bath, let's just go right in the middle kind of a thing. What would I expect to pay to set that up?
Well, the staging itself for a 2-bed, 2-bath could honestly be anywhere between, let's say, on the very low end, like 12,500 or something like that, all the way up to double that amount, 25,000 or so. And I will tell you that you honestly get what you pay for in the staging world. That is something that I have learned. With regards to the other work that needs to take place, obviously that's totally property specific. Some properties don't need much. At the very minimum, if possible, paint touch-ups, window washing, making sure that if there's something that we can do about the imperfections in the property, and it's easy for us to do it, let's do it. Because the buyers, when they are imagining what things will cost, inevitably will wind up saying it costs 2 times the amount of what it actually costs. So let's do it for them. Let's make the property look like it's really well cared for, like it's as turnkey as we can possibly make it. And the worst thing that anybody can do is sell a property vacant. I mean, that is just a death, unless it's got like the greatest view on the face of the planet or something else spectacular about it. Like, buyers need to know what size furniture fits into a space. Buyers often want to sit down in a space, feel it out. Like, imagine what life would be there, right? Like, you're selling a lifestyle. You're not just selling like the 4 walls that the apartment is in. Like, it's so much greater than that. But it's so hard to convince the seller of this because they just assume that the result is going to be exactly the same, whether they're staging or not. So they consider it spending money and they don't consider it investing money. And frankly, if it were up to me, if I could seriously quantify exactly what the ROI would be on this investment, if I could prove it to each seller, I would just invest my own money in it. Like, I would do it fully if I could capitalize on the profit.
Yeah, it's funny, Greg, because you think about, I mean, look, we're in the data business and we like to go deep. I mean, there are periods of time when we will investigate every single sale in a building because sometimes the unit numbers don't line up. Like, you think about a condop, you get all the res ones. Like, we will go through those, all the documents to figure out which unit is this res one, et cetera, so we can align the sales. But at the end of the day, it is such a visceral thing, to your point. Like, a buyer wants to come in, data or not, they want to feel the space out. They want to see the views. They want to sit down. They want to get a sense of that space. So the data just goes out the window at that point, because it's like, is the space right for me? And it's such an interesting point, because you're absolutely right. You get what you pay for in staging, because that's the story that the unit tells when you walk through that threshold. Like, that feeling you get, like, oh, I could live here. This is great. Like, there's no data there. It's just, you got to do it. You have to be in person. You have to be present in that unit to kind of feel it. So I want to echo that point, because it really is, a lot of people kind of think, all right, well, it's just all about the data. If we get it priced right, and yes, I'm not gonna sell the data short. That is simply a huge point. But to your point, that visceral aspect sometimes is really front and center, and that really does need to be, appreciated.
And that's a consistent thing, John.
Yeah.
A lot of
Totally.
guests come on this show and say the exact same thing. Yeah.
It's a feeling. Totally. This is an emotional business, right? Like, you're not selling stocks here. You're selling somebody's home, and there are feelings involved with that. And if they come into a property and their heartstrings are being tugged at, like, that's when they want to pay the most money for a property. That's when you see the crazy, closing prices that you never would have expected. I am telling you with 100% certainty, this property that I was just telling you about in Brooklyn, where we got 9 offers and when, I think it was over 20% above ask, like, that would not have happened with 1,000,000% certainty. That would not have even come close to happening the way it did had it not have been for the preparation plan that we put in place.
Wow.
Yeah. Greg, I'd like to quickly pivot and ask you about your team. You guys are a high functioning team. We're always interested in how people are building teams, how they're managing it, and what that process is like from the beginning of the idea to, like, maybe I should have a team, to right now where you're sort of sitting on top and you're just making it rain. How does that work?
So I started a long time ago as a solo agent, and that was like the thing that you did then, right? Like, you just like were on your own, and God forbid, like, you were on a team. Actually, sellers would be like, is it going to be you showing it, or is it going to be one of your team members? Now that's totally different. But I started as a solo agent. I did everything myself. And then eventually I got into a partnership. So that was like my first taste of like working with somebody else. The great part about that partnership was that we hired an assistant. And I realized immediately the power in having an assistant. The partnership didn't work out for various reasons, but the learning that I received from having that assistant was completely invaluable to me. So I took the assistant and I started my own thing. It was just us. I didn't even know that I was starting a team until it just happened organically, very, very slowly, like intentionally slowly. It wasn't like my mission to have like a big team. I just found it to be fun. I enjoyed the mentoring aspect of things, and it was nice to have junior agents helping me along the way with things that I just felt too overloaded with. One day, one of my team members said to me, she said, Greg, I don't understand how you can handle this much volume and still keep your sanity. I was like, well, that's easy. I have Michelle, who was my assistant and still is working with my team to this day. She's now the director of operations. She's the best. And I realized at that moment, how awesome would it be if my junior agents had the same experience that I had, where I had the time to perform dollar producing activities because I wasn't being bogged down in board package preparation, and like, all the other various administrative tasks that I'm terrible at and that we don't want to do. And it was like an epiphany for me. It was like a light bulb moment. And I decided at that point, I was going to provide everybody on my team with an assistant. And it was amazing to me because not only did it free up their time to do more dollar producing things, but it also improved the quality of our work dramatically. So now we were never missing a beat. Everything was done with consistency, with clarity, and we were known for our great work. And so that was like a win-win for me. And since that time, we have built up the team, and we have grown the team, and we have grown the number of people that we have helping us on the administrative side. We have a lot more, I think, people on our administrative side for the number of agents that we have than most teams would. Like, we have only 6 agents, and I have 2 full-time administrative people working on it. I have another one in the Philippines that's assisting them. And we also just hired a social media and marketing person. So that's like a lot, but my intention is to grow the team a little bit further, but we want to have all of our systems in place and have everybody super trained up. So we were the Greg Mire team for a bunch of years, and now we're actually rebranding. And we've been working hard all of 2025 on this rebrand that we're about to release to the world. And we're going to be known as Turnstone Advisory. And the reason we chose that name is because we are relentless in just being complete and leaving every opportunity uncovered and no stone left unturned. See what I did there? So we're very excited about it. And I think it's going to be a really exciting 2026.
Well, hey, listen, props. There's a number of things you said there. I would like to echo as well from my own experience with John and UrbanDigs. It's sometimes you wear way too many hats, and if you're wearing way too many hats, and a lot of agents are doing this, and they're playing social media director, they're playing admin, they're playing the chief role of the company, they're playing the sales guy, the service people. When you're wearing too many hats, you're never going to have the right time to grow the business, because instead you're operating the business yourself. So huge. It's a huge epiphany when you realize that, and you take these hats off and you hire an admin, and now you get out there and grow your business, do what you got to do, and you can actually see results. So that is a huge piece of information I want to echo. So thank you for that. And I've also been through rebrandings, brand refreshes, and they're tough.
Yeah.
It sounds like something that's easy, but if you don't have the know-how of this thing, like, you could just do it wrong 9 out of 10 times.
Totally. I mean, it's been fun for us. It really has. But to be honest,
a lot of work.
Like, I don't know what I would do without the supports that we have.
Same here.
On the team. Like, I suck at a lot of these things, right? And they make sure that every single thing is happening in the way it should, and we're always prepared.
It's an amazing feeling when you finally find that right person and you train them properly, and you put some systems in place so that you can bring more people in and have some operating procedures here, and all of a sudden you don't have to do these things anymore, and you totally trust this person to do it. It's amazing how it opens up time to redirect and refocus your energy towards, again, bringing in business. Right? Yeah. That's what you should be doing.
Shout out to Michelle.
Yeah, great. Good job, Michelle, if you're listening here today. Greg, we've reached the end. This has been great. I have one last question. We always like to ask this for our guests. Strategic tip advice. I mean, you did already talk about admin and all that kind of stuff. So let's see if we can come up with something else. But what tip or what advice would you give to any agent of any level of experience, new, mature, veterans, to up their game after everything you've been through?
Well, listen, I would just say, invest in yourself, right? Whether that be the administrative stuff that we talked about, or a coach, or a client gifting program, or traveling to these conferences and retreats where you're going to meet referral sources from all over the country. I remember in the beginning of my career, I never wanted to spend any of my own money. And it was all about what was coming in and not, what I was reinvesting back into the business. But I feel like you cannot grow without investing some of that profit back in. The other thing I would say is pick up the damn phone. Like, you cannot sell anything over text or email. It's impossible. I mean, you need that human connection over the phone. Like, you need to hear the tone. The tone is always misinterpreted over email and text. And it's a little harder to pick up the phone. And I know people are, a little nervous about doing it, but the results will be so much better if you just pick it up.
Yeah. It's a relationship business. I love it. This has been great. Thank you so much, Greg Mire, powerhouse over at Compass. That is John Walkup. I am Noah Rosenblatt. This has been Talking Manhattan, and we'll catch you next time.